Making a video. Yeah, I could have made it just a private video because it's a response video to a private video, essentially. Another male human guy. Yeah, I don't know whether he's the same as just another, but whatever. Yeah, so generally, sort of a video asking me, kind of, what's the basics of Efilism? What's the least necessary components of understanding to get it? And it's sort of a trick question in a way, just because part of the answer to that question is your personal experience, obviously, in terms of just recognizing that life doesn't intuitively, just your own perception that there's certain things about it, the lack of deserve having anything to do with it, the impositional nature of creation, that are just foul. Flags right there for that one. Can't do that. It's a disproportional distribution of the pain and gain. And for that reason alone, it's not a viable game. Just we don't do it voluntarily. We don't volunteer to be part of a game where deserve may have nothing to do with it. So that would be the first kind of argument you could just use from the argument from personal interaction with the life game. Then when you do the more analytical arguments, they get more into discounting the psychology bit, the bias towards fight, not flight. Cowards run, that kind of thing. So yeah, we're supposed to fight for it. We're supposed to make it into something. We're never say die. Never give up. Never surrender. Being defeated perceptually. So that's sort of an ego argument. The argument from our psychology just makes this, game attractive, and but it's not like a rational thing. You don't rationally say, yes, make a need so you can satisfy a need. Something rational isn't going to find that an appealing notion. When there's no need to create need, and then satisfy it. And the logic is kind of simple. It gets into sort of the arguments where you just sort of say, you sort of understand that the absence of Martians and Plutonians or Uranians or all of these other things that could have been, their non-existence is not perceivable as a bad thing. So it's sort of the Benatar asymmetry argument in a sense, where you can certainly see that there's no harm, no negative in something not existing. I mean, there just isn't. It isn't perceivable as a bad condition. It's a nothing condition, not a bad condition. They aren't in purgatory somewhere saying, oh, please invent us, oh, please make us, oh, please create us, any of that crap. None of that's happening. Where the contrary, where somebody's in pain and they say, please give me some morphine, and they say, oh, sorry, no, we sold it for rice. Tough luck. Once you create the need, then there's all kinds of mess made. But the absence of the fairy tale is not discernible. There's lots of stories that don't exist. Nobody wrote them. Goldilocks and Red Riding Hood got written. Well, what if they didn't get written? Catastrophe? I don't think so. And the ones that are absent, it is not a catastrophe that they didn't get written. Just as the lives, the narratives we are living out, there's all kinds of lives that aren't being lived. Is it a tragedy? I don't think it can be manifested into one that's rationally describable. And so that's one of these arguments, that there's clear and apparent negative price paid for our existence. And if it's rationally looked at, there can't be any possibility for real gain, because there's no real loss. I mean, you can't say something's a real profit if when you take it away, there's no evidence that it's necessary or vital or important or useful. So it can't be a real thing. It can't be a real positive value if its absence doesn't leave some sort of negative deficit or some hole that's perceivable. And the only ones we perceive are the ones we're addicted to or attached to. Our personal narratives. That's an important story I'm doing. I'm telling an important story. Yeah, his story is bullshit. The story of the guy who doesn't exist, got aborted when he was a fetus, his story is really irrelevant. My story's important. It's important that I, bang that bitch. Yeah, because I'm alive. That's why. I'm in need. There's just so many ways you can just, understand that. So then I would say there's another. So you can go with the psychology stuff in so many directions, just understanding how we're just desire machines. My brain thinks that there's probably at least 10,000 beautiful women that would be better off if they were introduced to me. Had my charming company for a few moments of their life. They couldn't, lose through the experience. Yeah, that's my narrative. That's my story. It's just a story. But anyway, so the third one is the getting more and more mechanical and just understanding what the universe is doing. This evolving matter thing, and that does the energy thing does the matter thing, the elements, and then the elements do the compound thing, and the compound thing ended up doing this DNA thing, which created this replicating molecule blueprint thing, which created the opportunity for a lot more creations. And that's all we are. We're just built to slaughter each other, to lay eggs and die, and that's really all that's going on here. And we're doing it with this fantasy that we tell ourselves, this little Jedi story we're playing out, of success and failure. Winning. I'm winning. That's how people think, even when they're obviously losing. They think they're winning. It's just it's an insidious mechanism. It created sensation as a tool to create behavior, and it's wasted. Suffering is just wasted in insane proportions to lay eggs and hatch them and torture the losers. And we're doing this at their expense. We're breathing their death every day. Every day we're breathing the death of the biosphere, and we're eating it and consuming it, and, to tell our story, to tell our little Red Riding Hood stories. And it's an insidious price being paid for a silly robot game. That's all it really is. We're just robots. We're just programmed machines, doing our little bullshit dance that gets us laid, blah blah blah, and that's it. There's nothing else going on, and it's just it's way too expensive, and it produces nothing of any discernible rational value. Just as the non-existent Martian joy and happiness in storytelling is of no detectable deficit, doesn't diminish anything by not existing. It's not a real value. It's of no real value. So all you have is this word waste, really. So if you're going to say, what is Efilism? Efilism is an acknowledgement that the function of DNA replication, living things, once they acquire sentience, is waste. Now there's something of value to waste. When they're just robots, when they're just machines that aren't feeling, who cares? Let the matter dance however it wishes to dance. But when it starts dancing on pain receptors in brains and obnoxious feeling sensors, then there's an important value that can be wasted. It can be unnecessarily squandered for no profit. And but that's it. The word waste is pretty much the definition of, it's an acknowledgement that life is fundamentally and intrinsically beyond repair. It's not, it doesn't make function, it makes friction. It makes waste. It doesn't create anything but opportunity for failure. It makes the harmable, and then it harms it. No sense to it. No sense in opening the door to torture, because none of the stories we could possibly ever tell would ever be worth the torture imposed to tell it. The delusionary experience of, oh wow, what a fascinating story. It makes me feel all, comfortable. But why? Because you're afraid of a world that didn't tell you that story. You're discomforted by a world that doesn't give you lies to live by. The native condition is miserable, and all you're trying to do is put band-aids on it, try to heal the wounds of existence, the wounds of need and deprivation, and we don't do it profitably. Even your emotions of love, if you're going to love passionately, it's because you were alone, miserable. Your need was unsatisfied. You have to walk the desert to acquire the thirst. And so even the things you think are free, a smile, some little pleasantry, they're not really free. The comfort you derive is going to be proportional to the hunger endured. Yeah. And more importantly, in the environment, in the DNA gone wild world, the waste is so much more, extensive. And it's the maintenance of that system of redundant torture and destruction that can't be justified. There's nothing we're doing that can justify it. So, yeah, I don't know if I want to beat this one to death, but yeah, it's something I have to put into written words. It's part of the book ideas, isolating, I guess, these different arguments. But one argument is like the Frankenstein argument, that there's nothing in the good that can pay for the imposition of the bad. It's just wrong to impose on something, something like torture. Yeah. And, and the other argument is more to do with just this fundamental nature of the psychology, and the fact that even though we think there's a game to play, it's a loser's game. You're just fighting to get to the surface of the water. You're fighting not to drown. You're not going to profit from this experience. You're just going to minimize your losses. And you'll feel grateful. Hey, I'm grateful I don't have. And you can go through the list of all the things you can be grateful you don't have. 2 heads. A dead brother stuck to my side. Lots of things I don't have, and I can be grateful for that. I can feel good. Oh, I don't have it as bad as that. But that's an artificial comfort. And it'll get you to the surface. It'll get you a gasp of air. But you shouldn't need the air in the first place. So, Yeah, I think it's probably. I guess it's. I, you know, you probably don't know. That's why I got to make videos, right? Because you don't know. But yeah, I guess I would say is if I was to put in a sentence, what constitutes the meaning of spelling life backwards is understanding that life doesn't run a profit, and that it fundamentally can't run a profit, because there's absolutely nothing in the universe that needs humans. There's no broken that humans fix. There's no broken that a possum fixes. Living things can't fix anything that's broken in the universe. There's just no potential to be productive. There's no deficit that living things fix. And that's how the system runs. It's a fixed deficit world. It's a get out of debt system. It's not a profit system. So anyway, now that's enough, I think. Pain on the side of my head. Anyway, to get these, whatever, getting old thing or something, I don't know. It's hard to hold your eyelids up as you get older. Yeah. It all gets gravity. Oh, you really start to feel it. Anyway,